Hey everybody, so today we're looking at Scarlet and Violet booster boxes and some of the cards as well as the specialty sets for the month of September 2024. Some surprising things that are going on, some not really surprising things. So starting off with Scarlet and Violet base set booster box up 0.08%, so basically flat on the month. If we look at a longer term chart, it is, kind of flat. It's going up and down a little bit. Nothing too crazy going on there. Paldea Evolved down 1.4% on the month to $133.23. This was up to over $140 at one point. So, it's definitely down a lot from its peak, but this box has been slowly rising over the past 6 months. Obsidian Flames, basically flat on the month, up 0.47%, sitting at around $114, surprisingly. So, this box definitely is creeping up into the one teens now. And if we look, it is on the rise as well with a lot of these Scarlet and Violet booster box sets. Paradox Rift, the next setup, down 1.5% on the month, sitting around $102, $103. And the set did go up to around 106. It was selling over 110 at certain times. I did see sales for that, but now down to the low 100s. Paradox Rift, Temporal Forces, next up, down 3.79%. We will look at some of the cards later from Temporal Forces getting, I wouldn't say crushed, but down a lot. I had some people give me flack for saying crushed, but a lot of these cards are going down a lot, surprisingly. The box is well down 3.79%, which isn't a ton, but sitting in that 103 range, nothing too crazy. Kind of expect this a few months after release there. Next up, this is the big surprise. Twilight Masquerade up 8.92% on the month, sitting around $143. And no one, I think, expected this set to be as good as it's been. I definitely didn't think it was going to be this good. Up 35% over the last 6 months as well since release. So, this box is absolutely crushing. We will look at the Greninja later, but just to fly through the booster boxes, Stellar Crown. This one came out a couple weeks ago, so not much to say here. Sitting around $109.41, down 15.81% over the past 3 months. But again, that's not really important because it was just released, so ignore that. But sitting around $100, $110, somewhere in that range. I'm sure you're going to be able to find it, probably even cheaper on some sites. And then just to touch on the specialty sets. So the 151 ETB, yes, this is the regular ETB sitting at $83.34 on TCG Player, up 13.4% on the month. Paldean Fates, 41.26, down 3.73%. Nothing too crazy there. And then Shrouded Fable, down 5.87% on the month, 34.82. But obviously 151. This is just insane what this box has done over the past year or so. You could have bought this in the mid 40s around Christmas time last year, and now it's trading on TCG Player over $80. Just insane. If we look at most recent sales too, $80, 87.97, so basically $88, 87.87. So all day it's selling in this range, all day, every day. And then Paldean Fates, Shrouded Fable, nothing too crazy there, nothing too exciting either, to be honest. The Magikarp, the first card we'll look at from Paldea Evolved. This card is down 7.18% on the month. You got to remember, this card not only a few months ago was up to $150 basically in mid-June, and it's now down to $100, $110. So this card is definitely getting squashed a little bit, and we're still seeing it this month taking a hit. Still one of the best cards in Scarlet and Violet so far. And again, if you bought this card $50, what you could have done, basically less than a year ago, congrats, good on you, you're still doing well. The Groudon from Paradox Rift, this is the top card in the set, still sitting around $49, down 4%, a little over 4% on the month. It's still higher than the Roaring Moon. I believe the Roaring Moon's $46.93, something like that, $47. At time of recording, this is September 24th. So, still the top card in the set. This card had a massive spike. I believe it was playable for like a week or two, but I think people just realized that the artwork as well made it a really good card. And it's holding its value quite well. It was up to over $60, but compared to a lot of these other alternate arts, especially the Magikarp, a lot of the other ones from Paldea Evolved, the Chuyu, the Qianpao, I know they're different sets, but the Groudon as one of the Scarlet and Violet alternate art cards or IR cards, it's holding its value really well there. Next up, some cards that aren't holding their value really well. The Raging Bolt EX from Temporal Forces. down 14.44% on the month, sitting around $66, $67. This card was up to over $90 at one point, right? Heading towards $100. I love this artwork. I personally love this card. I think it's great. I still think long term it's a good card to have. And especially if you're a collector, maybe you like this, maybe you don't, whatever. But, for me, I love the card. So it's surprising to see that it's coming back down. I know this was in the meta. Obviously, I'm not keeping up with it, but, maybe it's fallen out of the meta as of late, or maybe, price manipulation. Maybe people are just selling the card because they don't think it's overhyped. Whatever it is, right? This card's getting, hit a little bit. Same with the Iron Crown. This card's down 6.26%. And I should say the Raging Bolt is still the top card in the set at $66.62, but Iron Crown not far behind, around $56. Again, this card out the gate was the top card, I believe. It was up to over $100 at one point, and now it's down to mid-50s. So there you go. The Greninja EX from Twilight Masquerade. Obviously, we have to talk about this card. I didn't think this card was going to be anything special. This thing was selling over $300 at one point, and in the past month, it is down about 4%, but considering it's up to over $300, pushing that range, this card is holding really well in the 280s, which is super surprising to me. Twilight Masquerade as a whole has just been incredibly surprising to me. A lot of these cards, like the Carmine, still over $80. Perrin holding well, over $70. The Eevee at $46. And again, it will be interesting to see if there are reprints of Twilight Masquerade and stuff like that. If the demand will be there, and what will happen to these cards once more are open. But, medium term, I guess you could say at this point, a lot of these cards are doing very well. Just a couple more to hit before we end the video. The Charizard from 151, up 2.25% on the month, over $100 at this point, doing quite well. Again, out the gate, this card was over $108, and it's held super well. And, you could have bought this in the mid-90s back in the summer. Still doing a great job. And, these 151 cards, even though a ton of the product is being opened, the cards in general are just holding their value. The demand is there for the Charizard, for the Blastoids, the Venusaur, a lot of these cards. And same thing with, the Charizard EX from Paldean Fates. Still the top card in the set, over $105. Again, this card is down 9.46% rather, on the month, which is quite a big hit, honestly, for a month. But, this card has been trading in this range, around $100 up to $110, whatever. It's still holding its value there. And then the Terapagos EX from Stellar Crown. This obviously is a very new card, but it seems like the public is receiving it quite well. Obviously not as well as something like the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade, but this is a very interesting, unique card. It's something that Pokemon's coming out with, so it's surprising to see that at least in my opinion, it's surprising to see that this card is doing as well as it is. I didn't think it was going to do this well, but again, it is a beautiful artwork. People like the card. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, it might be this card, it might not be this card, but is Terapagos playable in the meta? If someone knows, let me know in the comments down below if that's contributing a little bit to it. But I think a lot of it is just people like the card, and again, we'll track this over the next few months to see where it goes. And same with the rest of Stellar Crown as well. Obviously, the Lacey sitting around $46. The Squirtle up around $40. That's not surprising to me. Hydrapple around $34. Some of these other ones, Galvantula EX, I imagine this one's going to drop off unless it becomes playable or is in the meta, stays in the meta, whatever. Bulbasaur around $32. Again, that doesn't surprise me at all. Dashbun EX, another SIR, $28. Nothing too crazy there. Briar. So some of these cards, we'll have to see what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.